All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to tell all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as our simply sharing our passion with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Yes, it has been a long time since we have done a Chin Check Sports Radio Fantasy Warfare, a fantasy matchup. That is definitely one of the highlights of our program. It's definitely fun going down memory lane about great fighters of yesteryear and never letting their memories fade away. We definitely have a doozy for you. If you see, as we stated in the previous broadcast, we have updated our program with the use or the help of AI rather. So on your thumbnail, we propose a fantasy matchup between two fighters who are no longer with us, but definitely gave us memories that will last us a lifetime. How would a hypothetical matchup go between the late, great Arturo Thunder Gatti versus the late, great Ricky the Hitman Hatton? Definitely an exciting fight, and a fight that actually could have happened. A lot of fantasy matchups that people do are guys from previous eras, previous generations. By previous generations or different eras, you get the usual Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Floyd Mayweather, or Sugar Ray Robinson versus Floyd Mayweather. So you always, Bernard Hopkins and Marvin Hagler, so you always get those fantasy matchups, and those matchups are great, and we definitely would love to talk about that. But we generally gear our fantasy matchups towards fighters that we grew up watching, guys that fought around the same time that could have fought, but for whatever reason they didn't. So that's how we select our matchups. But for this matchup, we'll jump right into the career of one Ricky Hatton. 48 total professional fights, 45 wins, 32 wins by knockout with only 3 losses. Some notable fights in the career, and we'll pick it up June of 2005. Winning the IBF in the ring, which is basically the undisputed, but the universally recognized or as the lineal champion in the light welterweight or 140-pound division. He beat Costa Tszyu. If the name Tszyu sounds familiar, yes, that is the fighter of current fighter Tim Tszyu, who just handed Errol Spence Jr. his second professional loss, and Errol Spence Jr. decided to retire after that fight. But Costa Tszyu was a damn good fighter. A quick history about Costa Tszyu: he beat the late great Vernon Forrest in the Olympics as amateurs. Vernon Forrest, who handed Shane Mosley his first 2 losses. Costa Tszyu going into this fight was a heavy favorite, even though the fight was fought in Manchester, England, which is Hatton's home country. But Tszyu was definitely the betting favorite. That high European guard, solid jab, quick right hand. And Costa Tszyu, for those of you who might have forgotten, and if you don't know, that's why you listen to us. If you Google the Zab Judah fight in 2001, where Zab Judah took a straight right hand to the chin, fell backwards, gets back up and stumbles down to the canvas, and the referee stopped the fight, and Zab Judah went ballistic on the referee, putting his glove in his throat and throwing the stool at him. That knockdown was from Costa Tszyu in the second round. So in 2001, we believe that fight happened. So June 2005, Costa Tszyu was the reigning and the best fighter seen at 140 pounds. And if you go back and watch that fight, Ricky Hatton took it to Costa Tszyu from the opening bell. I mean, was in his face. He did not allow him to get off. In his face. I mean, definitely a war of attrition. He took it right to him and beat Costa Tszyu. And that was Ricky Hatton, his biggest win, being a huge underdog going into that fight. His next fight, November of 2005. KO in the 9th round against one Carlos Mausa. Now, I know that he does not ring a bell for many of you, but Carlos Mausa was a Colombian fighter who had a very awkward style. The herky-jerky upper body, side-to-side movement, rather clumsy. His biggest win was against one Vivian Harris, who at that time was a top contender at 140 pounds. And folks, if you go back and see that 140-pound division during that time frame was a very rich division. But he beat Carlos Mausa in May of 2006. In another exciting fight, he won a unanimous decision against Luis Goyazo. What's interesting about that fight, Hatton scores a knockdown in the opening round, like very early in the fight. But as the fight wore on, what kind of opened Hatton up to now, you started seeing some weaknesses. His style was an action-first, straight-ahead fighter. This action-packed, straight-ahead fighter. Well, Goyazo was catching him clean as he was coming in. That kind of started drawing up the blueprint because there are some people that believe that Hatton in fact lost that fight, but looking at the judges' scorecards, that knockdown is a fight that really put him ahead in that fight. January of 2007, a unanimous decision victory against Juan Urango. June of 2007, a KO in the 4th round against Jose Luis Castillo. Now, Castillo at this time is an older fighter, moving up in weight. He's 2 years removed from the all-time classic fight that we recently did a review about that, between him and the late Diego Chico Corrales. In December of 2007, a TKO loss to Floyd Mayweather. Now, that was a highly anticipated fight. That was one of Floyd's best performances. He used Hatton aggression against him. Floyd boxed beautifully. Pretty much opened up a lot of his offensive arsenal on Ricky Hatton. And the defining moment of that fight that tends to get replayed was a check hook that Hatton gets caught with in the 10th round, where he literally went face first into the ring post and Floyd knocked him out, and the referee had to stop the fight. So definitely a massive performance, but again, not trying to dish Ricky Hatton, but you're in there with one of the greatest fighters of all time. Those things happen. May of 2008, a unanimous decision victory against Juan Lezcano. November of 2008, a TKO victory in the 11th round against Paulo Malignaggi. In May of 2009, a brutal knockout loss in the 2nd round to Manny Pacquiao. Now, this is the Manny Pacquiao who is beginning his whirlwind tour to being one of the best fighters of all time. Again, this is after beating guys like Barrera and Morales, moving up in weight class to just demolish Oscar De La Hoya and beat Hatton in the next fight in May, beat Miguel Cotto that following year. So this is the rise of Manny Pacquiao, and this is around the same time where Floyd Mayweather Jr. took a sabbatical from boxing, a year and a half. So after the Hatton fight, he took about a year and a half away from the ring. So, and what's ironic in this fight, Ricky Hatton was trained by Floyd Mayweather Sr. And really, he was dropped in the 1st round twice. And the same strategy that he employed against Costa Tszyu, charging Tszyu, just taking the fight to him and stuff like that, Pacquiao's hands was just blazing and lightning fast. He was getting hit from all angles and the punches were just landing. Pacquiao was landing beautiful right hooks that was finding home for his right hooks, dropped it with a left hand at the end of the 1st round. In the 2nd round, we talking about a left hand right on the point of the chin that flattened Ricky Hatton, and really he was pretty much done as a top fighter. Now, moving on to Arturo Thunder Gatti. Arturo Gatti, 49 total fights, 40 wins, 31 knockouts, and 9 losses. So notable fights in the career of one Arturo Gatti. We're going to pick up December of 1995, a unanimous decision victory against Tracy Patterson, who was the son or the adopted son of the late heavyweight champion, Patterson, winning the IBF Junior Lightweight title. In his first defense in a very exciting fight, and we'll tell you some funny stories about that one, against Wilson Rodriguez. I believe Arturo Gatti gets knocked down, he gets back up, has a severe, and I believe that was the second round he gets knocked down, a severe swollen eye. I'm talking about eye swollen. If you go back and watch that fight, at the end of the 3rd round, as we're in the corner, a guy who we're going to reasonably believe was the ring doctor pretty much muscles his way into the corner while the cut man is trying to get the swelling under control. He tells Arturo Gatti he wants him to cover his left eye so he can see out of his right eye. Of course, if you can't see, you get hit. And he had to scream at Gatti, telling him if you don't do it, the fight is over. So Gatti seemed reluctant to do it. He tells Gatti if you don't do it, the fight is over. Then Gatti then covers his left eye. He takes his hand off. the doctor screams at him again. I said to cover your left eye. Then Gatti answers how many fingers that he's holding up. He does that, I believe, in the third. I'm going to say the fourth or the fifth round. Then Gatti then scores a sensational knockout in the sixth round. Definitely from a body shot, actually. A hard body shot, knocks the guy out, a massive performance. So definitely eyes swollen, and quite frankly, both of his eyes were swollen. But again, that's why it's good to have a cut man. The cut man got the swelling down where Gatti can see and landed some beautiful body punches to knock him out in the sixth round. In February of 1997, a unanimous decision victory again in the rematch that was over Tracy Patterson. October of 1997, a TKO victory in the fifth round against Gabriel Ruelas. Now, Gabriel Ruelas was coming back, or kind of making his way back as being a top fighter, with an unfortunate accident where a fighter that he fought died from injuries in the ring. But Gabriel Ruelas came to fight that night. Definitely was actually, you can make an argument, kind of win that fight on maybe the judge's scorecard. In the fourth round, rocks Arturo Gatti, where Gatti was almost out of there. In the fifth round, Arturo Gatti lands a sensational left hook where you saw one of Ruelas I'm talking about knocked out of his boxing shoes. He gets hit, his body stiffens up, and just falls down to the ground, and the fight was over. And I believe the Wilson Rodriguez fight and the Gabriel Ruelas fight earned Gatti either fight of the year and or knockout of the year. January of 1998, a TKO loss in the eighth round against Angel El Diablo Manfredi. In another action-packed fight, Gatti was dropped, we believe, in the second or third round and suffered a horrid gash over his left eye, which is why the refs had stopped the fight. And Gatti was still bringing the fight to Angel Manfredi, but we felt even with the scorecards that Manfredi was winning the fight, that Gatti pretty much had to knock him out. And of course, it's a part which you never say that it couldn't be done, but you had to be mindful of the fighter's health. If you want to see a cut that's comparable, go back and watch the Vitaly Klitschko and the Lennox Lewis fight in June of 2003, which turned out to be Lewis's last professional fight. And the cut over Klitschko's eye, that'll be comparable to the cut that Gatti sustained in this fight, which is why they stopped the fight. And in August of 1998, a split decision loss against solid boxer Ivan Robinson. And December of 1998, a unanimous decision loss against the same Ivan Robinson. And it really was in both fights, even though clearly being beaten on points. In February of 2000, a brutal KO knockout in the second round against Joey Camachi. But there was some questions whether Gatti had hydrated, like whether he cut enough weight and then rehydrated to move back up. And obviously he had a significant size advantage and knocked the guy out. And I believe there was legal action actually taken in that fight. March of 2001, a TKO loss in the fifth round against Asa De La Hoya. We believe that was De La Hoya's first fight after the Shane Mosley fight in 2000, but Gatti clearly, he really should not have been in the ring with De La Hoya. That was a feel-good comeback fight. Gatti still has some name equity, and that was a fight for De La Hoya. January 2002, a TKO victory in the fourth round against Teron Millette. And the next fights, the Wars with Irish Mickey Ward. May of 2002, a majority decision loss in the 10th round. Wes, I know you're listening. Do you remember watching that fight together? And that fight, man, folks, just go back and watch the fight. That fifth round on, and people knew that both of these guys were action-packed fighters, but nobody thought it was going to be this type of drama in theater. I'm talking where the fifth round, Mickey Ward opens up with a combination where Gatti ate all the punches. Go back and watch that ninth round. Gatti gets dropped by a body shot. He gets up. He throws punches. At one point, he's almost out on his feet, literally out on his feet. Ward hits him again. That simply woke Gatti back up, folks. That. Go back and listen to Jim Lampley. That was HBO boxing at its finest. One of the classic fights of all time. Great fight. But actually, Arturo Gatti actually lost that fight. In November of 2002, in the rematch, a unanimous decision victory again over Mickey Ward. And what's funny, in that fight, he busted Mickey Ward's eardrum. Now, Gatti decided to box more in this fight, busted his eardrum, and Mickey Ward actually fought back. Well, he really could have been knocked out in the second round, but he fought back, but Gatti clearly won that fight. And folks, if you think a third fight could have topped it, which is exactly what happened. That third fight, folks, when you wonder why we love boxing, why we don't watch these farces of the Paul brothers and these other jokes in boxing, when we go down memory lane, and I want you to hear it in our voice, when we tell you that we remember watching these fights live when it happened in a raw emotion that we felt, in that third Mickey Ward fight, Arturo Gatti clearly hurts his hand. Clearly hurts it, breaks his hand. His trainer, Buddy McGirt. So Gatti goes back to the corner and tells his trainer, my hand is hurt. Buddy McGirt tells him, what do you want me to do? Basically, either we're going to win or you want me to stop the fight. It wasn't no, hey, how you feeling, hang in there. It was, what do you want me to do? Arturo Gatti says again, I think I broke my right hand. Buddy McGirt again says, what do you want me to do? What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? Arturo Gatti then says, I got to keep going. Then Buddy McGirt lays out the strategy for Gatti to use his left hand, because Gatti, even though he was involved in a slugfest with Mickey Ward, he was a solid boxer when he needed to be. And of course, you got Mickey Ward. You're fighting a guy with Mickey Ward, basically with essentially one hand tied behind your back, and Gatti still did enough to actually win that fight. Folks, that is just a classic trilogy of fights. If you had to pick out of the three fights, that was probably the lesser of the three, would probably be the second fight. First fight, action-packed. Third fight, action-packed, but definitely a great trilogy. January 2004, a unanimous decision win against Gianluca Bronco. In January 2005, a KO in the fifth round against Jesse James Leija. June of 2005, a referee stoppage or corner stoppage against Floyd Mayweather. Now, this was the fight, ladies and gentlemen, that really put Floyd on the map to more fans. Now, people knew of Floyd Mayweather going back to the Diego Corrales fight back in 2001, the Jose Luis Castillo fights in 2002, the Philip Endo fights in 2003. So hardcore boxing fans knew who Floyd Mayweather was, but this really put Floyd Mayweather on the map to, and I'm not going to say casual fans, I really won't go that far, but it definitely gave him a wider audience for the destruction he did to Arturo Gatti that night, where he pretty much beat Gatti from pillar to post. It was so bad, he was scoring some rounds, like 10-8 rounds, and that was a fight that really catapulted Mayweather to pretty much top pound-for-pound status, because see, that was June. I believe Bernard Hopkins fought Jermaine Taylor around that time in the first fight. Bernard Hopkins, he ended up losing, and that catapulted Floyd to the best pound-for-pound fight in the world. He never gave that mantle up until he retired. So that was a fight right there that you can point where Floyd Mayweather really came of age. July of 2006, a TKO loss to Carlos Valdemir in the 9th round. In his final fight, a TKO in the 7th round against Alfonso Gomez, in which he was ironically trained by one Mickey Ward. So, how would a fight between these two fighters fare? Now, again, we talked about Ricky Hatton being an all-action fighter. Absolutely. We can make an argument, Arturo Gatti himself, if you're thinking, and let's think of other fighters who were action-packed during the 1990s. Former heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, Jorge Paez, and the late Johnny Tapia. Arturo Gatti was right there in terms of being, now again, we didn't say the best fighter of the 1990s. We said most action-packed fighter of the 1990s. You're going to throw in a Felix Trinidad, maybe you can throw him in there. But Gatti was in that small group of fighters in the 1990s who, damn it, every fight he was in, including, we mentioned this, fights that he lost, he would have he definitely was in a competitive fight. There was no boring Arturo Gatti fights. Same thing Ricky Hatton, like he definitely brought that aggressive style. So that's where we think the clash they really would have happened. Gatti would always say, I'm going to box, and then get drawn out to a slugfest, especially against a guy like Mickey Ward. You have a Ricky Hatton who was an action-packed fighter. Now, where would they could have possibly fight? We gave you the dates. Gatti fought in around 2005-ish, super lightweight, junior welterweight, the 140-pound division. So we're talking about 140 pounds pretty much from 2004 to 2005. We told you that Ricky Hatton beat Costa Zoo in June of 2005. So we're talking a fight that conceivably could have happened. And that 140-pound weight class, you had some guys in that class, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking Ricky Hatton, Costa Zoo, Floyd Mayweather, DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley, Zab Judah, Vivian Harris. There were fights like to be made, and you had other, I ain't gonna say fringe contenders, but guys like your Ben Tackies and you know, like there were some solid fighters in that weight class. So that fight could have conceivably happened. Now, Ricky Hatton was a big star in England, while Arturo Gatti, being based out of Jersey City and pretty much being a New Jersey fighter, brought a lot of the fight contingent to Atlantic City. So, folks, if you act like Atlantic City wasn't a hot place back in the day, folks, yes, it was. And we've had the pleasure of going to a couple fights down there at, in Atlantic City. And definitely Arturo Gatti definitely brought the crowd over there. Folks, his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His last 9 professional fights were all at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. So it goes to show you that Gatti clearly was a star in boxing. Again, not really necessarily a mainstream star to, moms who didn't watch boxing. They really didn't follow like that. But Gatti definitely was a star, definitely amongst boxing enthusiasts. And that's how the fight would have played out. Now, Gatti probably would have had, if you're talking about that time frame, he would have had Buddy McGirt in his corner. Buddy McGirt, we thought, gave Gatti's career a lot of longevity by teaching him to box and stuff like that. That's where we think Gatti could have had the edge in this particular fight, because Hatton was a straight-ahead fighter, and you can catch Hatton coming in. Gatti definitely threw a lot of hard body punches. He definitely was a hard body punch. We mentioned the Wilson Rodriguez fight, and he definitely threw it to the body. And Gatti, while not necessarily, you wouldn't really think of him as a one-punch knockout puncher, but he had power to hurt you. So we're thinking that he would have caught Hatton coming in. They would have traded, they would have been tied in the ropes, like they would have been trading back and forth. We think that Gatti could have got the best of it, by hitting Hatton to the body. Now, Hatton would have won his rounds while Buddy McGirt probably would have tried to figure him out. He would have told Gatti what to do by this jabbing and moving, which is what he did in the second Ward fight, with the second and the third fight, by jabbing and moving and really changing strategies to actually box more. And we think that Gatti would have done that. Now you would have had your exchanges like we mentioned before. And that fight would have been a competitive fight where we could have gotten at least another fight out of the two. So we can actually see 2 fights between Arturo Gatti and one Ricky Hatton. First fight would have been action-packed, slugfest. They would have been slugging it out. Gatti would have won his rounds. So we definitely would have picked Arturo Gatti to win the fight. And being that the action was so intense and people would have loved it, and keep this in mind, as a big of a star as Gatti was in Atlantic City, could you imagine the fans from England coming over for that fight? Man, Boardwalk Hall would have been insane. And we're talking, and go look at the love that Hatton got when he fought Floyd Mayweather in Las Vegas. So imagine them basically just flying across the pond right there in New Jersey and coming to Boardwalk Hall with the Gatti fan base and the Great Britain fan base. Man, it would have been a sick atmosphere, and that's a fight that we definitely would have been to. So rest in peace to both fighters. Thank you for the memories, guys. And definitely for Chin Check Sports Radio Fantasy Warfare, we would have picked Arturo Gatti to win this fantasy matchup by unanimous decision. Definitely would have gotten a rematch. Please, 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 definitely comment. Definitely let us know your thoughts, what you think of it. And until the next time, Chin Check Sports Radio, signing out.